Guys, in this video, I'm going to discuss an exceptional hack to EU citizenship and a bonus towards the end. I'm going to discuss another alternative citizenship that's in Latin America as a MERCOSUR nation. A lot of people are crazy about that one, and the only issue is that you normally don't get it soon enough. It takes a long time, up to 7 years to get that nationality. In this legal hack, using this, you could potentially get it in a year. So it's going to be a super important video. Now, the EU citizenship that I'm going to discuss over here is going to be from Spain. So normally, to naturalize in Spain, you got to continuously reside in Spain for 10 years. Now that's super heavy, and not a lot of people can actually afford to spend that much time in Spain just to get that one EU nationality. But using an interim nationality, you can cut down or fast track that time from 10 years to 2 years in this case. And in the second example, it drops down to 1 year. And this is through obtaining an alternate or interim nationality. Now, if you look at the Constitution of Spain, it does list a few options, right, for the fast track route. So it's usually the Ibero-American countries. There are around 7 to 8 countries on that list. There's Philippines. There's some other nations in Africa. So there are a bunch of countries that are prioritized for the fast tracks. If you have a nationality from one of those countries, you can potentially naturalize in Spain in just a couple of years. Now, this is obviously discretionary. It's case by case basis. It all depends upon which of those nationalities you have obtained. So obviously it requires some analysis and discussion, but there's a potential pathway to fast track your citizenship in Spain. And a couple of those countries do have the provision for citizenship by exception. And because those nations are poor and they don't want to attract the limelight, they aren't publishing the normal CBI programs. The moment they disclose or they publish a CBI, an official paid passport program, it attracts eyeballs, it attracts scrutiny. Western nations take away their aid and stuff like that. So there are a couple of nations that don't really want to make too much noise about it. They have the exceptional provision, so they award, or they're known to award, citizenships based on exceptional circumstances. And sometimes a small donation, a small amount, not crazy amounts like, let's say, Vanuatu or the Caribbean ones, right? They officially take a lot of money, hundreds of thousands of dollars. Here we're talking about smaller amounts, which is sufficient for these small nations. And these are legal government programs, and they're not a whole lot, right? They're just a couple. Interestingly, they happen to be from one of these nations. And again, these options cannot be openly marketed, and it's understandable because those governments don't feel comfortable marketing and publicizing these options. And we do specialize in citizenship by exception in a couple of countries. We openly sometimes talk about our attorneys in Serbia, right? There is a provision over there. There's a provision in Latvia, but there's also a provision in some hidden gems which do qualify for such fast track. The other big interesting situation with Spain is that it does not specify whether that citizenship, that interim citizenship, or your nationality, right, your underlying nationality should be by birth or it should be by naturalization, right? So because it does not really categorize or differentiate, having the citizenship or having the passport is usually good enough to then fast track yourself for the Spain citizenship. Now, how soon does this exceptional citizenship happen? Where it can happen as soon as a few days to 30 days, right? You can obtain that nationality. Spain would require some form of residency to start the clock, right? The 2 years has to be spent in Spain. So you want to have some underlying residency. There are multiple options that you have to strike that residency. The golden visa in Spain is over, but there's several other options that you can utilize to strike a residency. Obviously, assuming that you have this nationality, case by case basis, you can potentially apply for early naturalization in Spain. So that's one option. The second nationality on this list is Brazil, and Brazil also fast tracks certain cases. If you're from a former Portuguese speaking country, then you can naturalize in a speedy manner in Brazil. Normally, people talk about the childbirth situation. Most of you guys watch watching aren't going to have a child in Brazil. Some of you would consider that, but not everyone, right? Not everyone is looking to have a childbirth in Brazil. So that is where this interim nationality can come into picture. So yes, it has its own visa fee. It could be a poor nationality. It won't have all the bells and whistles, but Brazil is a strong passport, and Brazil does prioritize or fast track certain nationalities, and this one or a couple of ones, right, realistically speaking, do qualify for that fast track case by case basis. And when I'm saying all of these things, right, these are just my analysis, right? You got to confirm all of this with an attorney. This is not immigration or legal advice. Everything, once you contact us, we put you through to our attorney. You can check with the respective attorney, or you can check with your own attorney, but it's important to get legal validation on all of these strategies. And at any point in time, right, you want to get started with any of the options that I discussed, you can always click the link, book a call. We can discuss and explain what options exist and get you started with the option or options of your choice, so you can get your dream nationality. Now, how do you strike a residency in Brazil? So you need to have that 1 year in place, and you need to have some residency to enter, right? So you can exercise the fast track option. Now in Brazil, you have multiple options, but the only one that I see practically that can get you the permanent residency, and a permanent residency in Brazil is necessary in order to then fast track. If you get a normal temporary residency, then it'll take 4 years to convert that into permanent, and then you can fast track it to 1 year. So here the key is going to be a direct permanent residency in Brazil. You enter, assuming you have this interim citizenship in the background, you can then apply for fast track. So that is clear, but the residency is going to be VIPER, right? And for VIPER, it's sort of a golden visa of its own. It's not called as a golden visa, but it works like a golden visa. Now, depending upon the money you're putting into Brazil, let's say you're starting a business and putting in 180 or 190k USD. All the amounts are in Brazilian currency. I'm just giving you an approximate number. So 180 to 190k will get you the most premium type of permanent residency, where the physical presence needed is less to maintain the residency. Is only 30 days in certain cases. And if you're going in with a smaller amount, let's say $30,000 or anything more than $30,000, then you obviously would have to spend more physical time inside of Brazil. However, once you satisfy the requirements for the nationality, assuming you have a Portugal speaking nationality sitting in the background, you might have your home country passport or passports, but this interim one is an additional one, right, which gives you the underlying qualifying eligibility. So if you have that in 1 year, then you apply for your Brazilian nationality and you can naturalize in that country. Now, interestingly, the couple of options that I'm talking about, they are applicable, at least one of them is common or applicable to Spain. It's also applicable to Brazil. So it's a very interesting play, and it doesn't have to be this one, right? You can take a look, you can do some research, and there's several countries, 8 to 9 countries. Maybe through descent you naturally qualify. Maybe your spouse is from Philippines, she qualifies. When she naturalizes, then you naturalize. So there are multiple options to naturalize in Spain. And once you come from this country, Spain does have a treaty and they do allow dual citizenship with that nationality. And once you unlock the dual nationality situation, then the whole dynamics changes, right? Then you have multiple options in the background which can technically be kept. Brazil has no issues with dual citizenship, so you can easily and conveniently keep as many nationalities as possible. Now, before you go, if you aren't subscribed to the channel, make sure to turn on the bell notification and subscribe, because I keep updating new options as they crop up and new analysis. So if you're subscribed, you will be the first one to know. And if you like this video, give me a thumbs up and catch you in the next one.